Okay, so this chart is really interesting. If you are interested in real estate, you will appreciate this chart. So I was working on a market update video and looking for slides, and I was looking for this chart and I couldn't find it. Nowhere did this chart exist. And so I created this chart because I think it tells an interesting story. On the top of this chart is the number of houses that are for sale in the last 4 years. And by the way, this is my market, but this is typical of the market. Your market might be slightly different, but this is actually tells the story of how real estate has ground to a halt. This chart shows you the number of houses that are sold in the last 4 years. So this is 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and this is this year. And there's a couple observations that we can note right off the bat. Number one, there's a sunrise and a sunset to houses for sale, which makes sense. Not everyone wants to sell their house in December, and most houses are sold in late spring, early summer. The other interesting thing is for the last 4 years, the number of houses for sale have gone steadily up. And that's a good thing, right? If you have been a buyer, there's been very few houses to choose from. Here's the interesting part. So this is the number of houses for sale, and this is the number of houses that get to the finish line. This is the number of signs in the yard. This is the number of houses that actually get purchased. And here's what's interesting. So this yellow line, this is 2022. This is when rates were somewhat affordable. You can see this is when rates started to go up in earnest. And for the past 3 years, we have been locked down here. This red line has been the last 3 years. We have been locked down here. So what does this tell us? Well, it tells us a couple of things. One, the number of buyers are fixed. It doesn't matter if there's a sign in the yard. There's only so many buyers that can afford a house today in today's market. Now, if you stick a sign in the yard, are you willing to sell the house at the rate the market will pay? Now, if you're not in the weeds in real estate like I am, you don't think about this. Here's something that you should know. You know, retail is kind of the opposite of real estate. Let's say that Costco is selling trampolines, right? They have a manufacturer, they make a bunch of trampolines and they stick them in a warehouse. Now, if that inventory doesn't move, they will lower the price until those things get sold. That's how everything in retail works. But that is not how things work in real estate. And what I have seen is that there are two types of sellers. There are sellers who are willing to pay what the market is willing to bear, and there are sort of those who can't or won't. And I'll do a separate video about this, but there's this whole thing called expired and canceled. Expired is when the realtor and the seller agree a certain amount of time to sell the house, and for whatever reason they decide to part ways and say we couldn't get it done in that allotted time. And the other is withdrawn. The seller just decides I'm not selling my house anymore. And we're seeing that, I'm sorry sellers, but the demand is just locked down here. So anyway, I thought this was helpful. Hope you find it helpful too. Take care.